Hello, my name is Andrew Beckton. I am an 8th grade teacher at Palestine ISD, and today my presentation will be on backwards design and how to apply it in an 8th grade U.S. history classroom. So in this presentation, I will explain the backward design framework, where it comes from, why it's such an effective planning approach, and then of course I will model how to use this specific process with an actual TEK, in fact one that I'm teaching currently, and I will show how that specific TEK connects to a specific assessment question, and then demonstrate how lesson activities are intentionally aligned to prepare students for success. So let's get started. So, backwards design is a planning framework developed by Grant Wiggins and Jay McTighe. Their work, published in Understanding by Design, or as they call it, UBD, back in 1998, emphasizes that teachers should begin planning with the end in mind. So very almost unorthodox, especially when you consider how we sometimes approach education. And so, again, instead of starting with activities or tasks or worksheets, textbooks, we start by identifying exactly what we want students to know and be able to do. And so, again, it is a very intentional approach to education. So we determine what evidence is going to show that mastery, and then, of course, we also design instructional activities that directly lead students towards that outcome. So, as you can see, there are 3 stages of UBD, and first we should identify the desired results, which of course means selecting the TEKs in our case, and writing clear learning objectives. We should also determine acceptable evidence. So this refers to designing assessments or questions that measure mastery of the TEK that we have chosen. And then, of course, the third stage is to plan learning experiences and instruction. So these would be the activities that should align to the assessment, not the other way around. So backwards design helps to ensure that the assessments and activities, again, are intentional, which I think that's the key word, and purposeful. And so let's continue. So we use backward design because it increases instructional clarity. And when we plan starting from the TEK and the assessment, we eliminate activities that may be fun, but don't necessarily target the required learning. And so this method really ensures a stronger TEKS alignment, which of course is crucial in Texas because of course, our accountability measures rely heavily on how well students perform on the TEKS-based assessments, such as STAR. So backward design also strengthens student outcomes. Students are more successful because the activities purposely prepare them for what they will be assessed on. Additionally, backward design increases teacher clarity. We know exactly why we're teaching something, where the lesson is going, and what mastery looks like. And so when planning is aligned and intentional, there's that word again, intentional, instruction becomes more focused, and the students have much greater opportunities for success. So for this particular example, I have selected TEKS 8.16 subsection C. This TEK states that students should identify the freedoms and rights included in the Bill of Rights. This particular TEK is an essential component of 8th grade U.S. history, and I'll tell you, it appears year after year on the STAR, usually in the form of scenario-based questions that require students to apply, the amendments to actual, real-world situations or scenarios. So it is also a very clear and measurable TEK, which is partially why I chose this one. Students either can or cannot identify which amendment is being applied. And again, this just makes it ideal for showing the alignment between the TEKS, the assessment, and the learning activities. So going back to stage one with the desired results. So again, the stage one focuses on determining the desired results, what students should know and be able to do. So for this TEK, I wrote the following learning objectives: that students will accurately identify the rights protected by each of the 10 amendments of the Bill of Rights, that students will be able to match example scenarios to the correct amendment, which is kind of that real world application. Students will explain why each amendment remains important in modern society. So these objectives move students from basic recall to application and understanding. So the first objective deals with foundational knowledge. The second transitions into application, which is what STAR requires. And of course, the third builds deeper understanding and allows students to articulate why these rights matter today. Once learning objectives are established, so backward design would then move into stage two, which is determining acceptable evidence. So this means, what will students do to show mastery of the TEK? So for this lesson, I created a STAR-style multiple choice question. The question presents a modern scenario in which a student posts political criticism of the government on social media and asks which amendment protects that action. Of course, we probably already know the correct answer is the First Amendment, freedom of speech, and students must apply their understanding of freedom of speech to a contemporary situation. So this kind of scenario reflects the reality of STAR, which is that students, would rarely see questions asking simply, what is the First Amendment, right? That's just, I guess, wishful thinking on the teacher's behalf. But instead, students have to interpret a real-world application of constitutional protection. So this assessment question becomes pretty much the anchor for the entire lesson. In stage three, we design the lesson activities that prepare students for success on the assessment. So backwards planning requires that each activity is intentionally connected to the assessment. Activities are not random or disconnected. They serve the purpose of reinforcing the knowledge and skills needed for mastery. The activities I planned include a short mini lesson reviewing all 10 amendments with student-friendly definitions, a scenario sort activity where students match example situations to amendments, fun one here, a gallery walk where students rotate and analyze posted scenarios or images and identify the amendments represented, and an exit ticket that mirrors the assessment by requiring students to identify which amendment applies to a situation. So again, each activity moves students closer to successfully answering the STAR-like assessment questions. So the first activity is a structured mini lesson. Again, this brief introduction provides students with the necessary background information on the Bill of Rights. During this section, I will present each amendment using simple, student-friendly language. Students will complete a notes catcher that lists each amendment and its essential protection. And this ensures that all students begin the lesson with a clear foundation, and it also provides a resource that they will use during the scenario-based activities that follow. The goal is not for students to memorize the exact wording of each amendment, but rather to understand what is being protected. So, everything kind of contextualized for the student there. The second activity moves students from basic recall into application. So students receive cards with various scenarios. For example, a school locker search, someone practicing their religion, a citizen owning a firearm, or a case involving cruel and unusual punishment. So students must match each scenario card with the correct amendment. This activity mirrors the same skill required on the STAR exam, which is identifying which amendment is being applied when presented with a real-world scenario. Students discuss their reasoning, explain their choices, and build confidence in recognizing how the amendments show up in everyday situations. Of course, the gallery walk increases engagement while strengthening understanding through movement and, of course, collaboration, which is very important. Communal learning really plays a key in student development. So again, around the room, I'll post images or short descriptions representing a situation related to a constitutional right. Students will circulate, they'll analyze the information and record the amendment that matches each scenario. And of course, this is an excellent opportunity for students to talk with peers, justify their answers, develop a deeper level of comprehension, and the gallery walk just reinforces the exact skills required on the assessment. So further supporting the backward design model. And yes, the exit ticket also serves as kind of a quick formative assessment that mirrors the summative assessment question from earlier. Again, in this example, I provide students with a scenario of maybe police searching a home without a warrant. I ask which amendment applies. Students must write their answer and they must justify their reasoning. This allows me to quickly determine whether students have met the objective and whether they are ready for the summative assessment. And again, this demonstrates backward design that assessment and activities are tightly aligned. So this slide demonstrates the alignment across the three planning stages. The TEAK identifies a clear learning expectation, which of course in our case is identifying the rights in the Bill of Rights. And then we move on to the assessment question, which measures the exact skill that by using a contemporary scenario. And every activity directly prepares students to answer questions of this type. There is no time wasted on activities that are unrelated or do not lead toward mastery. And again, especially when it comes to something like the Bill of Rights, I mean, there is a plethora of activities that you could do, but some of them, they're more fun than effective. So this is exactly why backward design is so powerful in planning effective instruction. It really trims the fat of what we could be doing. So again, backwards design benefits both the teachers and the students. For teachers, planning becomes more focused and efficient because every component of the lesson is tied to the intended outcome. Instruction is purposeful, and assessments are stronger because they reflect the essential learning goals. So for students, backward design reduces confusion, and at the same time, it actually increases understanding. Students clearly see how daily activities support the ultimate learning goal. This approach also results in fewer instructional gaps, which can lead to improved student performance, especially on rigorous assessments such as the STAR, which ultimately is what we're teaching to. So in summary, backwards design is a planning model created by Wiggins and McTighe that emphasizes starting with the end in mind. I selected, a specific 8th grade TEAK, created an aligned assessment question and planned activities that intentionally support mastery of that TEAK. This model ensures that instruction, assessment, and learning goals are aligned and purposeful. So by using backward design, this helps us deliver high quality instruction that leads to better student outcomes. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you will consider using backward design in your future lessons. Thank you.